Hi there. In this screencast, I'm going to quickly add the links to my navigation area, and then I'm going to add the images that we have in our images folder to a page that I'm going to create called Portfolio, and then I'll add some links to those images. We'll pretend that those images are a screenshot for a website, and then we'll have those links point to the website that they're a screenshot for. So I'm going to quickly change this link to aboutme.html. So that will be a file in the same folder that I'm presently in. And the file name will be, oops, not about file, but about me. The file name will be about me. Resume is index. Contact, I'm going to just have that button fire up an email client. So if I type in mail to, that's what that does, colon, and then an email address. I'll use my actual email address. You can use mine for your assignment if you like, or your own, or you can make one up. And then I'll make this one, the portfolio. And again, that will be a file called portfolio.html. This one I'll have point to my Facebook. I'm just going to rename this Facebook. In real life, I'd probably have one called social media, and it would have all my social media accounts. Facebook. And my Facebook, if you just go to your profile and copy and paste the address from the address bar, you'll have a link directly to your profile. So let me just paste that one in. So this link fires up an email client. It creates a message, composes a message with this email address in the to field. This looks for a document within the same folder. So does that. So does that. And this one will go to the default browser and open up that location. Now I'm looking at this while I'm logged into Facebook, so I'm not exactly sure how that will display. I'll have to check it out. Alright, so I'm finished with my index document, index.html. So what I'm going to do is just choose File, Save, and then I'll choose File, Save As, and I'll remove everything in the main section and replace it with an H2 that says About Me, and I'll save it as this document as aboutme.html. I'll do the same thing for portfolio.html. So I'll start with About Me. So I'll quickly save this, File Save. And I'll choose File Save As. And it defaults to the same location, which is where I want to be. And I'm going to call this again About-Me, exactly as I expressed it in the link, of course. And I'm going to get rid of Profile, and I'm just going to say About Me. And then I'll just get rid of all of this stuff as well. Everything inside of the main section. Don't get rid of the section tags though. Then I'll know which document I'm looking at when I'm modifying it. I won't get confused about which one it is, otherwise they'll all look exactly the same. So I'll choose File Save, and I'll choose File Save As, and I'll call this one Portfolio. And I'll choose Save, and I'll say Portfolio. And notice that the title hasn't changed, so I'm just going to quickly change that and say Athena's Portfolio. And I'll say Athena's Portfolio. open up About Me and do the same thing. Save that. Open up About Me. There we go. And I'll say About Athena. In the title. I'll do the same thing in my H1. And let's take a look if that worked. So let's choose File, Save. I'll preview this thing. So I've got About Me. When I click on About Me, Resume, Contact. Now I've got Outlook set up as my default email client on my workstation. So if you don't have an email client presently set up, this probably won't happen for you. So make sure you have an email client set up. If you don't like Outlook, Thunderbird is also a good one. And then Portfolio. Click on Facebook. It replaces my present website with the Facebook website. So in order to make it so that it opens in a new tab, we can add an attribute to the link, which is target equals _ blank. So I'll do that on all 3 documents. And it looks good. Alright, so I'm just going to save each of those. Save all, we'll save everything. And now when I refresh, if I click on Facebook, it opens a second tab. Imaginary websites that I've created before. So on Portfolio, we're going to add some images. So in the section here, I'm going to add my IMG tag. And source, you need the source attribute in order to have an image working. And then close. That's basically all that's required. Now, I want these to be links, so I'm going to throw a link around it. href equals, and I'm going to say Pepsi.com. Pretend that we made the Pepsi website. And then I'm going to close that as well. There we go. I was showing an error. Now, I believe I have 3 images. Let me just open up my folder and check. There's the images folder there. And I'm just going to take a look at what these are. We have a background. I'll show you what the background does in a minute. So there's one of the images. So that's a fine portfolio image. Another one and another one. So again, we're pretending these are screenshots. Now, if you look at in my folder view here, we can add, this is Windows 7 I'm looking at. So it doesn't actually give me my width and height yet, but if I right click on my name column, I can add more attributes, or basically information about that file. So if I choose width and height, I'll see the width and height here, and we won't have to open it up in image editor to find out that information. So I'm just going to put width before height. 600. Notice the width and height is the same for all three. So the best way to scale these images, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is to scale them in the actual CSS. So I'm just going to remember 600 by 315, and when I get to that, I can add that dimension. Now, we want to actually add the link to those images. So again, my favorite way to do this, I know the file is in images. To get the file name in Windows, this is, I can click once on the image, and then I can click one more time. Now I've got the actual text from the file name selected. Now you have to choose, I think it's actually, we have to use Control C to get that. Let me just see if I'm right. There's one method that doesn't work, is what I'm getting at here. There we go. Good. Now I want 3 of these. I've got 3 images. So I'm just going to copy this 2 more times. Now, actually, before I do that, I'm just going to give this a heading as well. H3, and I'll say Pepsi. And I'll do the same thing for these as well. So I'll just copy that. And I'm just Control-Ving and Control-Cing and Control-Ving. So I'll say Amazon. So imagine that I built the Amazon website, web application really. And I also made the eBay site or something like that. And I'll grab the file name for the other 2 images in the same manner. I can actually just copy and paste that. So again, I think right-click and copy also works. But if you use edit copy, I think that one actually grabs the file. So you're limited a little bit. And one more time. So let's take a look and see what our portfolio looks like. I don't think it'll look very good yet, but we'll gussy it up. Notice these images are broken because I neglected to specify the images folder. So that's good, I get to show you that. Forgot to add it, but Project Resume contains portfolio in this situation. In order to find that image, we have to specify the folder name. So I just type in images. Now I can save and refresh, and gorgeous, we have our 3 images. Now they actually come in at the right size, but if you don't specify in width and height, the page will flicker. Things will jump around as the images download if we don't specify width, basically width or height. Basically the page will make room for these images based on the information about the image's width and height. Otherwise it won't. So I'm going to specify that in the CSS. Again, it's best to do it that way. So I'll go to my CSS, and we only have the one image at that size. So actually what I'm going to do, just in case we have other images, we don't want them all to be 600 by 315. So what I'm going to do is quickly call this image, I'll say class equals portfolio. So it'll be img.portfolio, and I'll do that for all of them. So I'll go back to my screen, and generally I'll just add a new section for images down at the bottom here. And I'll say img.portfolio. So anything with any image with a class portfolio will get a width, whoops, of 600 pixels and a height of 315 pixels. Now we won't see the benefit of this unless we change it to something that the images are not. So we won't see it working, I should say, not the benefit. So I'm just going to save this, and I'm just going to change this to half the size. So I'll make this 300 pixels, and I'll make this one 157. And so I'll save, and the HTML as well, and I'll refresh. So these images, if I inspect it, by the way, this is the developer panel for Chrome. If you right click on any element and choose inspect, then you should be able to see that element. So there's the tag right there. It says 300 by 157 img.portfolio. img.portfolio. I'll change that to match. Sorry, in screen. And there you have it. Inserting an image and sizing it with your CSS, which is the correct way to do it. You could actually throw a width and height attribute in the image tag, but if you decide all of your images need to be a different size, you would have to go through and change them all in the content as opposed to the style of the images. Now, I'm just going to quickly show you this background image. I've looked at it and I can't really see what it's supposed to do, but I'll show you a couple of other styles that we have with images if you want to tile them, which are very useful. So what I'm going to do is quickly throw in a div just for the purposes of demonstration here. So just before the close section here, I'm going to throw a div, and I'll call it, I'll just give it an ID of demo or something like that. And so it doesn't collapse in on itself. If we give it an escape character of space, NBSP, that'll give us some content so we can give it dimension. Depending on the browser, if you don't have any content within a div, even though it has dimension, it may still not show up. So demo will have a background image, and then we can take a look at how that how the tiling affects it and what control we have over how the image repeats when it's a background image. So you probably have no idea what the heck I'm talking about quite yet, but let me just show you how this works. So we have the div in our HTML. We just need to grab a hold of demo in our screen.css. So I'm just going to say demo, I'll give it a width. I'll just say the same thing. 600 pixels. And a height, same thing. 215. And I'll give it a background image. Background image there of, let me just check the file name, bg.ping. And the way we specify that is with a URL. And that's in images. Is in a folder that's alongside the folder CSS called bg.png. So we have to go .. before we can see that images. And there it shows us what the image looks like. And if I go choose file, save, and we take a look at this thing, you see the background image fills this. Now this is with one of the, basically by default when you fill an element with a background image, it tiles. So it repeats itself both vertically and horizontally. But what if we only want it just to be down the edge of an element? Then we'd only want it to repeat vertically. So let me just quickly show you without repeating and then repeating vertically. So I'll just go back and I'll say background repeat. And I'll say repeat. Notice we have no repeat, repeat X, and repeat Y. And I'll say no repeat just so we can see what that looks like. I'll save that. So that's what the image, just the image on its own, looks like. Now we want to repeat down the y-axis, I believe. I always get those mixed up, so we'll see what happens if I say repeat y. And save and refresh. Yeah, that's what I wanted. So that image would basically give you a stripe down one edge of the element, which is the div. So again, you have repeating options when you have an image set as a background for a div. And we'll see in later courses, we'll see how we can utilize this for some quite nice effects. One last thing I want to show you about images is alt tags. Sorry, on my portfolio. Anytime you have an image in a document, we need to specify, for accessibility reasons, an alt text. So the image doesn't show up, then the user will get some text instead of the image. So if they have their images turned off and they want to download each one of them by demand, or they're visually impaired, this alt text will be displayed. So in the case of somebody who's visually impaired, this alt text will be read to them when they tab to the image. So I'm going to say, what is that image? Take a look at what it looks like. That is, I guess, our workstation, something like that. So I can say my workstation for my alt. And let me just get rid of this demo. I don't like it anymore, but that was just to show you how images tile. But as far as your assignment is concerned, you can create this portfolio.htm, make sure it's linked to index, and then add these images. And again, throw them inside of links so that, oh, by the way, let's just make these target, right? Anytime you use a link that's pointing to a location that's outside of your site, you generally want to make a target blank, so it leaves your site available as a resource. Alright, and that's definitely it. I'll save that. Thanks so much for watching.